All right, welcome everybody to the Down and Dirty at 1:30 Central. And this is your host, Vishawn Borich, also known as the Tough Mama. And I'm so glad you're here, as always. I hope you had a happy Thanksgiving, right? We just got back from Thanksgiving weekend. We went to Texas. We went down to Houston to visit with family. I have lots of family down that way. That's where I grew up. So it was fun taking my boys and my husband down there and just spend some time. I hope that for those of you in the States that you had a nice Thanksgiving, and for those of you that are outside of the country, because we have a lot of people that watch these and are on live from other parts of the world, that you had a great weekend, because I know that we don't all celebrate Thanksgiving. With that said, today is really a very insightful type hangout. This was brought to my attention from one of my coaching students. They really felt lost. They felt like they didn't know their purpose, and they were just trying to make money. That was really their focus. Was they wanted a business so they could make money, but in the quest to make money, they had lost who they were. And it really hurt my heart, because to me, life is something precious. It's something so great that I can't even imagine not doing something that you love, at least for not very long, right? I think we all at some point in our life have done things that we did not love as far as occupations, but we learned from that, right? And as you age, and some people learn it younger than others, you realize that the true purpose of life is to find your purpose, your meaning, and also to do something that gives back to others. And it should be joyful for you. I mean, really, you should enjoy getting up every day to do whatever it is that you enjoy doing. So we're going to talk today about how to find that purpose. And for this particular student of mine, I'm not going to mention their name. They had lost their purpose, and after asking them these questions, all of a sudden it dawned on him what his real purpose was. And it just really lights me up to see somebody find their purpose. And then we were able to map out a plan on how the student of mine could start achieving financial income, living out his purpose. And that's what I'm hoping to do for you today. So before I flip my screen around, let me see who all is out there. So awesome. Hey, Gabriella, good to see you. You have been so consistent on being on these Hangouts. I really appreciate you. I know there's quite a few people who said they were going to be a little late. So if you are on and just haven't logged in, go ahead, log in down below. You'll see that there's a chat window. Be sure to say hello so I know that you're out there. And also, even if you're watching this as a recording, because I know that for some of you, you are still working a job during the day and you can't just take off at 1:30 Central and watch this, feel free to comment below, even if you're watching the recording, because I do look at those and I do try to answer those questions in comments as they come in. All right, so I'm going to flip my screen around so that you can see. I put a presentation together today, and what I recommend for you is go ahead and get out some notebook paper or a journal and a pen, because you're going to want to take notes today. Because even if you know your purpose, at some point you're going to meet someone, or maybe you even know someone in your family who just is living a purposeless life. They have no clue that there's another way to live. You can use the things that I'm going to share with you today to help someone else. And that's really what it's all about, is finding a way to help others, right? It makes life that much more enjoyable. All right, so I'm going to flip my screen. All right. Okay, hopefully you can see my screen and you can hear me. If not, send me a text message on Facebook, because I can't look at both screens at the same time, but I can see Facebook because my phone is sitting right next to me here on my desk, and I can see a message that came through if there's any issues. All right, so today, the topic of today's Hangout is 4 questions to discover your life's purpose. I do want to say I'm not just going to focus on just those 4 questions, although you will get those today, of course. I have some bonus things I'm going to share with you, and also a little background that might help you to realize your own purpose. All right, so let me give you an overview as to what you'll be learning today. First of all, I'm going to express to you why every day matters. I'm going to give you a powerful tool, a powerful little thing we're going to do that will really hit you. It hit me the first time that my own mentor shared this with me. It made me realize just how important it is to live out your purpose, no matter what. And we're going to talk about your own personal reason for living. And this is going to require a little bit of interaction if you're open to it. So for those of you that are on here live, definitely log in, because I would like to get a little feedback as we go through this. Next, we're going to talk about those 4 questions. I'm going to share with you the exact 4 questions that can really help you to pinpoint your own personal destiny or life purpose. And then finally, I like to throw in a bonus, and what I'll be doing today is giving you a bonus. If you stick around towards the end of this hangout, you're going to learn exactly the 7 steps to focus on. Or 7, they're not really steps, they're things that you should focus on in your life that can really assist you in living out your purpose and finding it if you're struggling with that right now. All right, so let's keep going. Let's get started here. So why every day matters. So this was something that I read a long time ago. I'm not sure who the quote's from, but I've kept it with me in my own journal. And it is, live each day as if it is your last, because one day you'll be right. You know, the truth is none of us know when our last day will be. I mean, we all hope that we live the average lifespan of a human being and, live to be, close to 80 years older or older, but that's not always the case. Right? A lot of people don't get that luxury to live a long life. And you don't know when your time is up. In fact, I can tell you personally that there have been 2 occasions in my life, actually 3 occasions in my life in which I would not be here today. I mean, they were death-defying moments of my life. And I'll just briefly tell you what they were, because it really made an impact on me and my views for how I live my life. One was, I was born with a birth defect. When I was obviously it was birth defect, but when I was about 3, I had a surgery, and the birth defect was my urethra had grown away from my kidneys. So basically, if you know anything about the human body, I was getting urinic poisoning throughout my body. Because, I mean, let's just be point blank here. I could not pee. Okay, it was just filtering inside of my whole body. And I know that's kind of gross, but it was a birth defect. And at the time, my mother and I were living on an island in the Bahamas. I know, plush life, right? My mother was a writer, and so she was writing a story, and she was doing research, and we had moved to an island out there for a year for her to finish her book. Anyhow, while I was out there is when it came to a head, and I kept shooting. My fever kept going up, and medical care is not really good when you're in the islands. So she had to fly me into Miami, Florida, and they rushed me in. They did all this, the X-rays and MRIs and everything else, and they come to find out that I had this birth defect. And so if she hadn't have got me in when she did, the doctor said I probably would have died within a week. And so I'm very lucky that they found it and they were able to repair me completely. I have no trouble at all to this day. But if it wouldn't have been for my mother dropping everything and saying, this is a little, too crazy. We don't know what's going on with my daughter. I'm going to just fly into Miami and get her checked out. If it wasn't for that moment, I would not be speaking to you today. Okay, so it's pretty powerful, right? So you don't know when your last day is going to be. And then the second time was when I was my last year of college. Well, I shouldn't say last. I may go back one day, but I was getting my bachelor's in design communication, graphic design is what I have my degree in. And I was flying in for my brother's wedding, and I went to college at Texas Tech University. Go Raiders! And anyhow, it's a long trip to travel by car. It's like 10 or 12 hours to travel from Lubbock, Texas to Houston, which sounds bizarre because Texas is such a huge state, but it takes a long time. So I had actually taken a flight. Well, it was a very, very stormy day, and the airplanes that flew out were the little small puddle jumpers, as we call them. I think it was like a 12 or 18 passenger plane. And I had flown out really early in the morning on this flight in order to make my brother's wedding in time, because it was also during finals. So I had to like really time it. Anyhow, on this plane, there was only about 6 of us, 6 or 7 of us. Most of them were business people. They looked like, you know, they were just in for the day. They were in business suits. And then me, a college student. And there were horrible, horrible thunderstorms. And at one point, when we were flying in over Houston, the plane, it literally turned on its side and dropped for I don't know how long. And it seemed like an eternity. It could have been like a minute, but either way, all of us thought we were going to die. And including the pilot, I might add. He came on and told us to prepare for emergency landing, which was a nice way of saying we're going to crash. Anyhow, to make a long story short, he did end up landing the plane, and I thought, oh, okay, well, we're good now. But the airport that he had to land at was not the one we were supposed to land at. And so what they were going to do is they were going to bus us, the passengers of this plane, over to another airport. And they, so we got off, and they were going to bus us. It was going to be about an hour drive to the other. So they flew into Hobby Airport, if you know Houston, and we were supposed to land at Bush Intercontinental Airport, which is about an hour north of Hobby Airport. And so they were going to bus us, and it was a horrible, horrible storm, lots of torrential rain, thunder, lightning, etc. And for whatever reason, I did not get on that bus. I don't know why, but something told me not to get on the bus and to just, call my mother and say, hey, can you either come get me, or should I take a taxi? They want to bus me out. But I just didn't feel comfortable getting on that bus. I don't know why. To this day, I don't know why. But thank God that I didn't, because that bus with those 6 other passengers, it slid off the road when it was heading to the airport, and it flew off of an overpass. Like, it crashed through an overpass, and all of the people that were on that bus died. All of them. So, just another example of, somebody was watching over me, and somehow I lived through that. Obviously, I wasn't in the bus. My mother ended up coming and picking me up, and drove. And we found out the next day on the news about this bus. And when they listed what had happened, and it was a bus to take people from the airport, all of a sudden I realized that was the bus that I was supposed to be on. So talk about spooky, right? Spooky. And then you think those are like death-defying enough. I also, and this was in 2008, I was pregnant with my second son, and I was about 8 months pregnant, have you? And I had a mole on my arm. And I thought, that's kind of ugly, and I didn't like it because summer was coming, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to just go to the dermatologist and get that removed because it was raised. Anyhow, so I went strictly for vanity reasons. Turned out it was melanoma, cancer. And if I had not gone in, they caught it at the earliest time. Again, melanoma is cancer, and if you don't catch it and you don't get it taken care of, you can die from that. And once again, somehow I survived that, and they were able to get it all, and my son was healthy, born healthy, and everything else. So there are so many things that happen in our lives, and maybe you have similar stories that have happened to you where you've somehow defied death. You have to understand that every single day that you're breathing, that you're alive, that you're healthy, that you're not in jail, that that you're living a life of freedom is so precious. So make the most of it. Okay. So I'm going to flip now to the next slide. I know that was kind of long, but I encourage you to go ahead and if you aren't writing notes, write this down. I want you to do a little math test because it's a very easy one. Don't worry. But this will really help sink it in that your purpose in your life really matters. Okay. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to take your age, your current age, whatever that is, and you might have to break out a calculator unless you're really good at math, and multiply your age by 365 days. Okay, that's going to give you approximately how many days you've been alive, right? Okay, so go ahead and do that. Write that down. While you're doing that math, I'm going to just see who else is out there. Hey, Rich, good to see you, man. Been missing you. Glad to see you jump out there. Yeah, Gabriella, there must be some massive purpose. Actually, I know there is. And you're right. You know, these massive things have happened where I could be dead, and I'm still here and I'm talking to you. So it's one of the many reasons that I do these hangouts, is to hopefully inspire you and help you to really live out your purpose. Okay, so if you've done that, you should have a number. It should be a pretty large number. Go ahead and write that down, that the answer to that on a piece of paper, because now what I want you to do is part 3. I want you to subtract that number, whatever it is, from 27,375. Okay, that's the average lifespan in days that most people in the United States live to be. Okay, so subtract that. Whatever your age times 365, subtract that from 27,375. Okay, so that number, I'm going to go ahead and change slides. So write that 27,375 if you haven't. Okay, so this is an example. I'm actually 43, but I'm just going to do it as if I was 40 because it's an even number. So let's say that you're a 40-year-old. So if I did the math, then it would be 14,600 would be how many days that a 40-year-old has been alive. And the average lifespan is 27,375 minus 1460. That gives you 12,775 days left. Okay, so that's approximately 35 years left of life. So this really helped, at least for me, it helped me to realize that life is dwindling, and every minute of every day that you are not thankful to be alive and that you do not live out your purpose, the clock does not stop for you. Okay, so don't say I have more time. You don't. You've got this moment. This moment in time is what you have. And you know, I'm even older than 40, so you know that means I have less than 35 years. What is that? 33 years left. So you know, about 11,000 days left. So you have to, obviously, some people are going to live longer, some are going to live less, but that gives you a ballpark as to what really matters. You know, I had a parent. I teach karate. Some of you know that. And I had a parent who has one of their teenagers is in my class, and they always come and watch their daughter practice. And I asked them, I said, you know, your daughter drives now. You know, I guess I'm confused as to why you're here all the time. And they said they had done the math, and they said that there were only this many more days left until their teenager graduated from high school and would be going off to college. And they didn't want to miss another day of their daughter's life. And I thought, wow, how moving is that? You know, I don't remember the exact figure, but it was really small. And I, you know, just thinking about, you know, let's say that it was, you know, 200 days or less, you know, that's not much time before, you know, your child is off doing their own thing, and, you know, you're not able to be as much of a part of their life as you were when they were living under your roof. So keep these things in mind, and I hope that this inspires you. It should not depress you. For me, it inspired me. It made me realize I need to take more action and do the things that really matter, because I only have this much time left. And it may seem like a lot of time, you know, 35 years if you're 40 years old, or if you're younger than that, may seem like a lot of time, but it goes so quickly. It really does. All right, so I want to share something with you. So, you know, as you know, martial artist, I do a Japanese art called Shorin-ryu. Can't even talk today. Shorin-ryu. And the Japanese have a word that they use that describes your reason for life, your reason for being, your reason for living. And that word is ikigai. Ikigai. If you want to write that down or phonetically spell it out, ikigai. And ikigai is the thing that gets you up in the morning. It's your reason for being. And you know, the Japanese, they believe but it represents all aspects of your life. It represents your hobbies, your relationships, careers, spirituality, etc. They also believe that finding it requires a deep and sometimes lengthy search of yourself. The Japanese don't have a word for retirement in their language. They do not have a word for that. This is the closest that they have, ikigai, finding your reason for being. And that's why when somebody of Japanese descent reaches the age in America that we would call retirement age, which is 65, it'll probably be more like 70 by the time I reach it. It's not retirement, it's finding your purpose. By that age, you see a lot of Japanese are still working, but they're doing something they love. They're doing something that really makes them happy and gives them joy. It's what they were created for. That's what they're doing. It's, to describe this even better, your ikigai is your passion, your purpose. It makes your life worthwhile. It gives you joy. It's what you were created for. So I'm hoping that today I can help you find your ikigai if you haven't already. So let's keep going so that we can get to those 4 questions to help you find your ikigai. All right, so here is just a little graph that I found that talks about the 4 elements, and we're going to go into the 4 questions here of finding your ikigai. So if you want to start at the outside of this by doing what you love, what is it that you love? And then you start there, and then you go around these circles to these, what the world needs. Okay, that would be your mission, what you love and what the world needs. That's your mission. And then what the world needs and what you can be paid for. That's your vocation. Okay. Then if you find what you can be paid for and what you're good at, that's your profession. And what you're good at and what you love, that's your passion. Well, if you find something that falls into all 4 of these categories, you have found your ikigai. You have found it. Now, you may not know all the details as to how you can get paid for doing what you love, but you know that there's a way that you can. And you may not be sure if you're really that good at it yet, but you love it, so you keep working at it. But this is a really important graph because that's really what we all are searching for in our life. So don't get hung up on money or lifestyle so much. Get hung up on what all of these things mean to you. So that's where we're going to go into the questions now. And once you know the answers to those questions, you should have a much clearer picture of what your ikigai is and what you should be doing or aspiring to do with your life. All right, so let's start with the 4 questions now. Before I dive in, let me see if I'm still with you guys. All right, you guys are still there, just making sure I didn't lose the people that are here live. Great, cool. All right, so here's your first question that I'd like you to answer. What do you love? And it could be a lot of different things. So, what I challenge you to do is write this down on your notebook, in your notebook. And if you're going to probably have time right this second, start making a list after you get off with this hangout. Make a list of all the different things that you really love, that you could do and be happy if you could do it. And for some people, maybe be sleeping more. I did this to one of my students, and they said, I love to sleep, because they have a job where they rarely get to sleep because they're always on call. And so, one of the things that they love is sleeping, which actually helped us to hone in on what this person should do with their life, because they obviously weren't happy because it was affecting their health. They weren't getting enough sleep. So part of finding what they love is finding something that gave them a more flexible lifestyle so that they had time to sleep and eat and exercise and work and have a balance there. So write down all the things you love. The second question, what does the world need? Okay, so I'm going to go a little bit deeper into this as to what the world needs. So I'm going to flip my screen back around so I can chat with you. Okay, hopefully you can see me again. All right, so let me talk a little bit more, and I'm going to go back to what you love. What do you love? And hopefully this will help you. Think about all the things that you love to do. You're probably aware of most of them, but you're not sure quite what to do with them yet. So just start making a list, like I said earlier, of the things that you love doing, that you love being around, that you love being. Maybe there's places that you like to go, activities, hobbies that you enjoy doing, people you like to spend more time with. So list all of those things down. And then the next one, what does the world need? This one's a little more challenging for some because the world needs a lot. I mean, let's be honest, the world needs a lot of help. And I don't know if you guys have been following the Standing Rock, the things that are going on out there, and I think it's North Dakota. It's been a real challenge for them, this Indian tribe. They don't want this pipeline going through their land. And so to me, it's very heartbreaking that they can't come to an agreement. The government can't come to an agreement with this Indian tribe. And so this is something that I feel the world needs. They need advocates for these tribes to help them because the government, I think, this is my opinion, but I think the government is taking advantage of them in a major way because they don't have an army to fight back. So the U.S. government is taking advantage of them. So, you start thinking about, what does the world need? In our own cities in the U.S., or if you're in a different country or halfway across the world, there are a lot of problems to be solved. Think about the problems that are out there that interest you. And you can use that to guide you. I mean, are you a big animal lover? Are there things related to animals that really interest you? Are you really into children and youth? Are there things with kids and youth that you really wish that you could fix? Are you into hunger or clean water? Surely, if you start thinking about it and all the different issues that are out there, which ones do you get passionate about when you start to really think about those? And this question is kind of the core to really finding your Ikigai, because if you have the answer to this, it's the foundation for the next two questions that I'm getting ready to go over with. Okay. All right. So the next two questions, and I'm just going to talk to you about it, and then I'll show you the slide. Then the next question, number 3, is what can you be paid for? What can you be paid for? Well, pretty much anything. You just need to find people who need what you're selling, right? So you may have to get a bit creative, but there's value. There's something of value in everything that you love. And it may be just what the world needs. You just have to seek it out. I mean, I have known some incredible people in my life who have built some incredible businesses on things you would not even imagine you could be paid to do. Like, I know a woman who, she used to work as a programmer for a big corporate company, and she would basically help program banking institutions in their software. Well, she got laid off from that because there was cutbacks, obviously, with the economic challenges a few years ago. But rather than sulk about it, she realized she really just loved programming. And so what she did, she built a company where she would come in for a few months, no more than 3 months, and she would bring a team with her, and they would come into a corporation, and they would do all of this custom programming for their their financial software, or for whatever it is that they need for their company. And they would pay her a very large amount of money for her and her team to come in. And then the rest of the year, she just goes off and does what she wants to do. She goes snow skiing, she surfs, she loves to ride horses. So she literally only works for about, on average, 3 months a year. That's it. Can you imagine that? It's like the opposite of a teacher, where they get 3 months off for teaching. She only works 3 months, and then she makes enough money in those 3 months to do whatever she wants for the next 9 months. So you can literally make a business around anything. I have another friend of mine who she and her husband have always loved dogs, and they're really good at training dogs. and they built a business called the Traveling Dogs, and they basically travel around all over the world and help very wealthy people who have fancy dogs and train them to be good, good parts of the family, to train their dogs. So they stay for like a week or so, train those dogs, and then they go off and they do something else. And these wealthy families often put them up there at their home for a week. So they have an opportunity to do these really cool things, all because of what they love to do, which is training dogs. So think about that what you can be paid for is really flexible. You just have to be creative. So write that question down and think about how you could be paid to do what you love. All right, so now we're going to go to the fourth question, and that is, what are you good at? This is where a lot of people are like, oh, well, I'm good at this, but they're not really sure, how they can turn that into an actual vocation. Okay, so you typically just think about traits or skills that you have right now that you really excel at. Maybe it's something that comes easy to you, and other people come up to you often and say, wow, you make that look so easy. Or, man, I wish I knew how to do that. You may not think it's any big deal, but other people may be like, wow, I wish I knew how to do that. So you may not like some of the things you're good at, though. I want to just preface it with that. You may not like doing them, but you're very good at it. You may not even want to pursue it. But if you look at yourself, you have certain strengths as well as weaknesses that make you who you are. And that makes you special and gifted. And all of the things in your background lead up to you being able to do something that you love. When you really look back on your life, hasn't every single thing that you've done, every career, every experience led you to be who you are today? Well, it's the same for the skill sets that you have. You have gained these skill sets, and you may not want to be an accountant or something like that. If you love accounting, I'm not ragging on accountants. My sister's an accountant, and she's very good at it. She loves it. That's not me. But the point is, you may be really good at accounting, but you don't want to do that for a profession. But perhaps there's something, a skill that you learned in that accounting profession that has helped you to be much better as far as being a frugal business owner than somebody who has no accounting background. So these are all benefits of what you're good at. Okay, so list them. Start listing all of your talents that you have. It may be a matter of applying them in a different way. If that doesn't work, the beautiful thing is that you can become good, if not great, at a lot of other things. Maybe you haven't had an opportunity to ever sculpt pottery, but you've always wanted to. Well, now's your chance. If you think that's something you might love, take a workshop, take a class on how to sculpt pottery and see if that's something that you might want to turn into a career. So the key is to putting time and effort into really finding what it is that you love, what you're good at, and then getting creative about how you could be paid for it. Maybe you could offer a class. Maybe you could do a hangout, kind of like what I'm doing right now. Maybe you could sell your work if it's something that you create. Maybe you could offer a service. Maybe you could record a video series and sell that. Or host a seminar, rent a space and host a seminar because you have some very unique experiences that others would like to listen to. Or perhaps you could write a book. So there's so many ways, and I don't want to beat this to the ground, but what I'm saying to you is that if you really are stuck, take some time, get away from other people and really focus on what it is that you feel you were sent here on this earth to do. And if you need more help, reach out to me. I don't know if you saw, there's a button below this video where you can get connected to me, and you can even get a free 20-minute coaching session with me where I can walk you through some other tips on how you can find your purpose. And if it's a good fit and you say, what, I want a regular mentor, I do a coaching series that I help people just like you so that you can find your purpose and live out your life so that it's a joyful experience and not one of drudgery where you feel like you're just grinding your wheels and going in circles. All right, so I'm going to flip my screen back around so you can see. Is this helpful? I mean, are you all getting value out of what I'm sharing with you today? Go ahead and comment down below if you are. I'd like to see that. Let me see what we've got. Let me go back over here. Rich, playing with fire and sleeping. I missed your personality there, Rich. Crack me up. Okay, so we already talked about the 4 questions. What can you be paid for was 3. Number 4 was what are you good at? So those are the 4 big questions that will help you find your Ikigai. So at this point in the Hangout, I wanted to give you some bonuses here. I've got a bonus, and that's what to focus on. You know, what to really focus on in order to live a joyful life and to find your real purpose, your real Ikigai. All right, so the first thing is to focus on having a positive attitude. I know some of the stuff you've heard before, but this really does change things, and it helps you to be more open to new opportunities as well. You know, life is too short to be cranky. All right, attitude is a choice. You know, we create our own world by the way that we choose to see it. So for the next week, month, year, stop focusing on fear, worry, problems, negativity, or despair. Instead, choose to focus on confidence, opportunity, solutions, optimism, and success. And when you focus on those things, you'll find that more opportunities come your way, more success comes your way, more self-confidence grows inside of you, and you find solutions to things that other people maybe aren't aware of. Okay, so that's one. The second thing is to keep your word. In other words, say what you mean and mean what you say. You know, look the world straight in the eye. Don't be two-faced. Don't put on one face for the corporate world and another face for your family. You know, live and work with honesty, openness, and integrity. You want to keep your promises, and then everything else will be a piece of cake. And by keeping your promises, that's promising to be someone of integrity. And by choosing to do that, you're going to be a lot happier, and other people are going to be a lot happier being around you. And if you have failed, and we all do occasionally, don't be afraid to go up to the person who you failed and apologize. Apologize to them. They may not forgive you, and that's okay. That's their choice. But by admitting that you failed and that you will strive to keep your word going forward, you suddenly will have a big relief off your shoulders. You'll be able to stand up straighter and start focusing on your true purpose in life. The third one is forgive. Forgive everyone, especially yourself. You got to let go of those past hurts. Feelings of resentment or revenge, for that matter, they're worthless. They can only drag you down. You know, I loved, and I don't care what your political views are, but I really enjoyed what Michelle Obama said on how when they go low, I go high. That was something that she said, and I thought, what a great way to look at life. And when people throw daggers at you and throw you under the bus and say negative things, forgive them anyway. Just forgive them. You know, make it a rule to always be the first to forgive, especially yourself. And you know, really, it's liberating. If you've ever forgiven somebody who you've had a grudge against for a long, long time, just forgive them and move on. You know, you may not trust them again. That's different. But by forgiving them, you don't let them take up space in your brain anymore. And that means you don't talk about them in a negative light anymore. You just let it go. You really will feel better. All right, let's go to the fourth one. Move forward. And what I mean by this is yesterday is like a canceled check. You know, the past does not represent your future. And that's so important because I've heard so many people who have these excuses about their life. They said, oh, well, you know, I could never do that. You know, I didn't come from a rich family, or I could never do that. You know, I don't live in the right neighborhood, or I don't have a college education, or I could never do that. I went and I spent all this money on education, and this thing that I'm doing doesn't require an education, so I can't do it. Those are all excuses. They're excuses for failure. So don't do that. There are far better things ahead of you than they are behind you. Your past does not represent your future. The next day, month, week, I want it to be a blank canvas for you, clean and bright. Decide that you're going to throw all the paint on it that you can. You can do whatever you want. It's a clean slate. So don't let anyone tell you that you are less than them or incapable of having what you want, because it's not true. Anyone can change their life and move it forward in a positive direction. You just have to decide to do it. All right, we're going to go to the fifth one now. Quit worrying. So I wrote some notes here. It says it's been estimated that 99 out of 100 things that we worry about never come to pass. So if you stopped worrying about what might happen tomorrow, wouldn't that give you more time to actually enjoy and savor today? That's right. So, let's think about this. What did you worry about 6 months ago? How about a year ago? 5 years ago? And how many of those worries actually came to pass? Well, I don't know about you, but like none of them. Maybe one. I think I know one that came to pass. But really, it was a blessing in disguise. So there's no reason to worry. And don't let, and here's the big one, don't put your worries on somebody else. And I want to share something with you that a long time ago, I had a really good friend of mine from high school who, and we're still friends today, but at the time when he graduated from high school, he was valedictorian of our school. Super smart, super bright. We all thought he would go and solve, discover the potion to prevent cancer. He was that bright. And he told me, and we were really good friends, that he was starting a pizza restaurant, his own pizza company, outside of college. He basically didn't even go to college. He decided that that's what he was going to do. He was just going to have his own pizza business. And I remember at the time thinking, oh my gosh, why would you do that? And I may have even said it out loud because I didn't have as much of a filter as I do today. And now in hindsight, and I've talked to him since, and I said, you know what? You really impressed me because you followed your passion from the get-go. No matter what anyone said and how they all worried about you and your future, you did exactly what made you the happiest. And today he's very happy. He has multiple pizza businesses and have done very well for himself and his family. And here, all of us had projected, many of us had projected what we thought was best for him. But in reality, what was best for him was exactly what he decided to do. All right. So let's go to the next one. And that's number 6, be grateful. So stop and view your life through the eyes of other 6 billion people on earth. Literally, there are hundreds of millions of people who would gladly trade places with you right now. And they would be ecstatic about it. So, think about that. When you get upset about, maybe not having something that you really want, or, not having as much money in the bank that you'd like, or, maybe something's happened, to somebody that you realize just how grateful you are and how good you really have it. If you have clean drinking water, you have more to be grateful for than 80% of the world. 80% of the world. I know that I have a brother and sister-in-law who are teachers or professors, and they have taught in China before, many times actually. They go quite often. And one of the things that they took for granted before they went to China was clean drinking water. And at the apartment that the university there in China gave them, when they turn on the water, it is brown. From the sink, it's brown. And they are told not to drink it, not to use it for any food or anything, because it has so much contaminants in it. And that's what they shower with too. It's mainly used to shower, and with soap and everything, then it kills most of the contaminants. So the way they have to get their drinking water is they have to actually buy
bottles of drinking water or boil all their water. So, think about that. I am very grateful that we have clean drinking water here where I live in the U.S. And you make a list of all the things you're grateful for, and it'll lift your spirit if you're in a really sad mood. All right, finally, number 7. It's the little things. So what I mean by this one is think small. Think about all the little things that happen that give you joy. And this is the true art of living. It's having joy in the little things. Like watch little children. If you have a child that's, under the age of 5, or somebody who is, watch them and how excited they get about the little things. A balloon is so exciting to somebody who's under the age of 5. I mean, they really get excited about having a balloon and playing with a balloon and holding a balloon. Butterflies are exciting to them. Just little things like that make children happy. Be like a small child and be excited about little things that happen. I can tell you that when I figure something out on my computer, and we all have those challenges on the computer. When you figure something out, what I do is I often will cheer in my office when I figure something out. And if my kids are home, they laugh because they think it's so funny that their mom's in here cheering because she figured something out. But it makes me happy. I learned something new. I love learning something new. And by doing that, it's like you're celebrating the little things, and it adds up to a really great day and a really great life. So happiness is made up of little things. A smile, a helping hand, a caring heart, a word of praise, a moment of laughter. We're all most alive in those moments. So savor every single one of them. And try to laugh more and try to smile more. And you'll find that not only are you more joyful, but you also attract more joy into your life by enjoying the little things. All right, well, I'm going to flip my screen about, and because I am all done with my presentation here. I really hope that you got something of value out of today's presentation. I hope that you feel uplifted and joyful and driven to really find your ikigai, your purpose in life, so that you can start taking steps, taking action steps to making your life that much more worth living. Because that's really what it's about. What do you want your legacy to be? When you pass on, be it many years from now or even next year, you don't know when your due date is. When you pass on, what do you want to be remembered for? And write those things down. And once you know what they are, it makes it so much easier to really follow your passion, because you know that you are indeed leaving a legacy. All right, I wanted to see if there's anybody else out there. Okay, great. Gabriella, Rich, I really appreciate you being here live. And for those of you watching the recording, thank you all. And I look forward to seeing you next Monday for our Down and Dirty at 1:30 Central. Have a great week. Take care.